All right, welcome to part 3 of lab exercise 5, the 4x4 Ando house. So actually just to start off, I want to point out actually this window is in the wrong position, and actually this drawing here is a mistake. So I'll just sort of annotate that. If you look at the photos, it's actually off the ground, just like the other one. So it's probably basically the same sort of situation. So there's actually an error in that drawing, in that elevation drawing. All right, just want to point that out. So let's fix this. Fortunately, it's really easy to fix. Like you've been using earlier, use the MoveFace command, right? And we know that these are 70/70 based off of like what we had earlier, right? So move this up 70, and then just plug in the hole using the box 70, right? Same thing, select it, Boolean union it, and merge all faces. All right, that's it. I just cleaned it up. Okay, so that's that. That's the one sort of big mistake there. Now let's move on. Now what I'm going to try to do, now there's a little bit of tricky situation in this sort of arrangement here that we'll have to resolve, okay? Well, the first thing really is, let's finish the roof of this thing. Now, if you look at the elevation, we had already extruded these walls to kind of the right height, but you just have to finish that off. Now, if you look at the section, it has a sort of zigzag in the section, right? And the sort of setback for the glass to kind of go full height and seem like, you know, the pane of glass is a lot larger. So because of that, it's basically here, right? So we'll actually have to kind of draw a zigzag section, but then also this wall that we extruded earlier has to, actually that's fine, that side, has to basically pull back. So we're going to have to basically plug that hole, pull it out, etc., etc. All right. So let's actually just do this really quick using the box command, extruding it up. So I'm just sort of stacking it, right? These should align. If I'm not mistaken, I can draw a line just to confirm that, okay, that, you know, those two kind of share the same edge, right? Okay. And then just use MoveFace to join this back over, right? And then Boolean union these, merge all faces. Okay, so these are now the same size, except for that slit. Now the height of the slit, that slit I don't know, but you know, as you saw, we can use the MoveFace command eventually to kind of fix it. So what we want to do is actually sort of sketch on this sort of side. And what I usually do, or what I do in this case, I just copy this out. All right, so you can start and go to another view. So with that wall selected, you can kind of click on zoom select on one of the other views to find, okay, you know, this is actually the one that we're looking at, right? So that's the right view, at least for me. It might be different for you. And actually just start to draw on that. So I'm going to snap to the end, pull it horizontally, 40 centimeters to the right, and then down 40 centimeters as well. You can check in 3D and see, you know, if you're doing it right, like that. Okay, so going back to the right view, select that sort of corner you just drew and mirror it basically, and connect the bottom. So select these, the curves that you just drew, and join them. So let's go to the 3D view and check that what you drew is still planar. But basically this is what you're trying to draw. You don't have to draw it here, right? You can, as long as the dimensions are correct. Okay, But just in some cases, it's easier to kind of work in one of these views. So you can actually make sure that it's on one plane. So I'm going to offset that line, distance of 20, right? Same as the floor slabs, and go downwards like that. And then just close it off and join it. All right? So you should have something that looks like this, okay? And I'm going to move this back into position like that and just extrude it. Solid. And at this point I can delete it. And this is actually should be on the floor slab layer, so change object layer. All right, that's the sort of roof section, and this you can delete. That was just there to kind of give us reference. All right, so let's actually try to solve this part. If you look at the sort of section, there's actually a lip, or basically a parapet, right? So some of that thickness we'll have to add back in. So if you kind of imagine this part of the roof actually has, the roof is actually behind here, right? So in this case, at least, look, you'll see this, right? We'll actually have to, because I want to actually make the roof a different sort of geometry. So we're going to have to try to close this off. Just start with a simple line. And sort of tracing the insides of this. And I accidentally broke the line, so it's okay. We'll join it back later. And in this case, I actually just want this line to go across to like basically where it sort of intersects this, right? So I'll just sort of draw it longer and click this sort of volume. So select the volume and the line that I drew and type intersect. The intersection will give me 2 points. One on the back, one in the front. The front one is what I want. So with that point, I can use that to draw it this way. Making sure that your things are straight. And just kind of see where things end up. So this actually ends up there, and that's not what you want. You want it to be here. Make sure your perpendicular snap is on. Okay. Let's get this out of the way for now, so I'll hide it. Okay, so the lines that I drew, let's hide this as well, right? Just so you can see a little bit better. So let's clean this up, trim that, trim this, delete those points, and join this up. Okay, let's show everything back. Let's extrude this -20. So yeah, this is on the floor slab layer as well. So change object layer, and let's move it down -20 as well. Okay, so now we're getting that lip. This actually wants to go back, and the wall wants to wrap around at that height, basically. So what we're going to do here is MoveFace this inwards and move it back, let's say, and make sure that when you're doing this, it's sort of snapping, right, to like a perpendicular direction. Don't go off on an angle. This should be 25. And click, right, so you're moving it back 25. And I'll do it again. Move it back. So because I'm sort of snapping to something, right? Put in the direction, the value 25, it will move into it, but then you actually have to click for it to actually go back. All right, and we need to fill this in. So same sort of box method that we used earlier. I mean, more or less the same thing. Change object layer. You don't have to do this now. Like, you can actually merge all your faces after you're done, but it's the same thing. So you see that slit actually is a little bit too high, right? Remember I talked about that a little earlier, and this partition wall actually will need to go down as well to go kind of slide in below the roof. So in this case, let's hide, well, actually, hide this so I can see. MoveFace, that slit down, and basically snap it to the bottom side of that, so it will align that way. Okay, show, get things back. All right, we need a parapet here, between there and there. So actually, you can use the rectangle first. Okay, and then extruding that up to get this sort of lip, right? Floor slab, and join that with the floor slab. Okay, so what you get is something like this, right? It's a little slightly more complicated. Well, it's not that complicated, but just more weirder shape. Now we just want to cut off this sort of partition wall so it doesn't poke up over here. While that can be done, you can actually like move this face down and then just add that top part back again and join it. But to just kind of show you how this works, I'm going to do it slightly differently with a different command. Let's hide this. Right. So you'll see I basically want to cut this out, right, of here. And so what we want to do is basically create a rectangle there. I'm going to actually intersect these two. So I get a sort of outline and then hide the volumes, right? This stuff I do not need. I really just want that. And this is the outline of the sort of volume I'm going to try to draw. So let's start with a box and go from here to here and up to there, right? Okay. And MoveFace it out. Something like that. And then let's go back and show everything. Okay. I want to MoveFace so this volume is a bit slightly larger or taller, right? Okay, so just to show you what I'm trying to do, I'm actually going to use the Boolean command in reverse. It's the Boolean subtraction, so I'm trying to subtract this out of that. Boolean difference. Says it applies to subtract from this guy. Enter what you want to subtract with. So this thing, this volume that we created earlier. Voila. Cuts it out. Now it'll leave these sort of marks, but merge all faces. We'll clean it up. And then you can select those sort of lines that we used earlier just to kind of get the dimensions. Delete it. And show everything. So you see this basically now notches in or slots in perfectly into this volume. Makes sense? So you can kind of see that relationship a little better. All right. So, all right, we can move on actually to making the windows window frames and the glass. So new layer. Glass, and they also a new layer, window plus doors. Make this blue, make this lavender. Okay, let's do the frames of all this stuff first. Now, this will actually kind of be a should be done together more or less. As always, there's multiple ways to do this, so I'll probably just like show you guys a couple. These, we know for a fact that these are those tiny 30 by 30 windows, so you know the dimensions, right? So you can actually, with the sort of windows door frame, so they're open, just draw on the ground somewhere 30 by 30 square, right? Offset the curves inwards a distance of 5. Okay, so click on the distance, put in 5, click on it, and go inwards like that. This is going to be the window frame. You'll extrude it upwards, 5 as well. And I'll just sort of pull it to the side. All right, so that's your window frame. Actually, 5 looks a little bit too thick here, so let's do 3 instead. So distance, offset distance of 3 centimeters, which is really small, but, and then extrude that 3 centimeters. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay. And then now I want to do the same with the glass layer. And instead of kind of use that, right? Extrude that as a solid and do, let's say, 2 centimeters for that. Okay, let's do, actually let's do 1.5, so escape. Extrude 1.5. So it's a little bit thinner. So what I want to do is actually move this using the midpoint of the thickness and move it to the midpoint of the thickness over there. And if you're having trouble, so you're just going to change your angle, and so you should be able to snap the midpoints to the midpoints like that. So there's a little bit of meat in front and behind it, right? There's a little bit of reveal, it's a little thickness, and this is something you can adjust, like depending on your windows. Sometimes to get more exaggerated shadows, like people like to kind of arrange it sort of towards the back, right? So if you want to, since this is more sort of more from the exterior, you can snap this to the back side, right? So you get more shadow in the front. Right. Once that's done, group it so you can move this together, right? Rotate it 90 degrees using the gumball and move this into place. Now, you have to decide whether you want it to sit flush or you want to move it back. Maybe, that's 3, so like 2 centimeters, right? So it's inset a little bit, and or you can move it so far that it's actually in the middle of the sort of opening. Looking at the photos, they're inset pretty far, so probably yes. So let's actually move it. Let's say thickness is 25, so let's do it 12, which is actually might be too far. Well, it's okay. Yeah, so we'll insert it 10 or 12 centimeters. It doesn't really matter. Just like enough so it's deep, right? These are identical, so you can just copy these upwards. Like that. Right? So that's for those. These are slightly different. Sometimes you get a shape like that, so it's a little bit harder to extract right away. So I'll just basically kind of trace it. Close, right? pull it out, offset inwards like that. And instead of doing it on the ground, we're just sort of doing it vertically, right? It's the same thing. 3 centimeters, you can delete the outside curve, but you still want this inside curve because you're going to use that to extrude. And you can switch it over, extrude your glass, right? 1.5 centimeters. Delete the curve after you're done with the extrusion. I think I might have extruded it too thick. Extrude 1.5. Okay, so my frame is too small, so MoveFace 1.5. Yeah, okay. Extrude 1.5, delete it. So it's sitting flush on the inside. Let's group that. Move it here. And nudge it back 12 centimeters. So same thing. Copy using the lower left corner, copy it in place. Copy it in place. Now this last one is sort of off, right? So we'll actually have to redo that. Or I can copy this into place, and then basically try to find an angle where I can move face them all. So I'm selecting all of those faces together and moving the face, snapping to the top. Same thing, right? Move face basically is the sort of stretch, right? And it just depends on whether or not you can get a good selection of just those planes and not accidentally, select something in the back. Right, so that's an easy way of kind of stretching things. So we can actually try to do the same with all these other dots. So why don't we just copy this window over. There. Just put it somewhere nearby. Right, rotate it 90. Make sure you have the right side facing out. Okay, so snap it to the corner, and then move face. Make sure that you're just selecting the faces that you want, right? Those are the ones you want to move. Enter, and then grab it, right? Again. And you can actually go into X-ray or wireframe, because wireframe won't select things that are not on the surface, right? Like that. Move, snap into the top, like that. Right, so you don't have to redraw things so much, and actually nudge it back, right? -12. Okay. All right. This is a door, so it's just basically simply a box. Actually, I'm just gonna see if I can sketch that. L, polyline, C, spacebar to close it, and extrude it, I don't know, 8 centimeters. Delete the line, change it to the door layer, nudge it back, 15 cent, whoops, -15, so it's just a sort of slab. Right, and you just sort of basically go around and do the same thing for all the other sort of stuff. So I'll sort of fast forward that. All right, so I've sort of put in all the windows using that same technique. Inserting the moving face to snap them to the right dimensions. You can basically use wireframe mode to to make sure that you're only selecting the faces that you need this way. Makes it easy. And we're now just sort of left with large panes of glass, 1, 2, and 3 in the back, and the stairs. And I'll do that in the next video.